Well, we're going to be talking about the work of leaders this morning. And I know that many of you have taken the work of leaders assessment, so that's a great introduction. I'm glad you had the opportunity to do that. And when we talk about leadership and the work of leaders, this is actually a program that took us about 6 years to develop. And we really set out to build a leadership program that would make sense to people. But there's so much that's out there with leadership. We kind of really didn't want to reinvent the wheel or restart something. So we began by actually doing research. Down here on the bottom, we did a literature review, which means we read everything we could get our hands on. And there's a lot of leadership books that are out there, a lot of leadership articles, journal articles. So we read for about a year. There were 4 co-authors, Barry Davis, Mark Scullard, Susie Kukkonen, and myself. And we read and shared ideas. And some of the things that we read, we were really looking for fresh ideas, for things that made sense to people. We wanted to help people understand how to lead in a way that people would want to follow them. Because without followers, you're not a leader. You're not leading anybody if people are not following you. So we made sure that we were reading a wide range of things. So we read some things that we would consider more traditional, or more classic, like Warren Bennis or Peter Drucker. And then we read things that were considered a little more contemporary, like Seth Godin's Tribes, which is all about how people come together and sometimes a leader emerges out of that group of people. We read things that are more academic focused, like Peter Senge's book, The Fifth Discipline. And we also read things that were more consulting based. Patrick Lencioni is an author in the US. He's one of Wiley's authors, and he comes out of the consulting world. So his approach was much more of a consultative leadership approach. We read things out of the nonprofit sector, another Wiley author, Frances Hesselbein. And we read things that were out of the more corporate. Harry Kramer is another Wiley author. He came out of the healthcare industry, and then he moved into private equity. So he has much more of a corporate perspective than others might. We read things that were more philosophical based, John Maxwell. And then Kouzes and Posner, another Wiley book, they take much more of a research base. So we read and we talked and we shared ideas and we considered what things made sense. What was interesting is sometimes what one leadership guru would say would totally contradict what another leadership guru would say. And sometimes one leadership author would take a deep dive down into just one aspect of leadership. Like Ram Charan wrote an entire book just on execution, on how to get things done as a leader. And as we read all of this, we kept asking ourselves, how do we make sense out of all of this? How do we put a leadership program in the hands of leaders so that they can lead without overthinking things, without having to look at the book and say, what do I do next? It had to be intuitive, something that you would think about quickly and easily. We also wanted to look at personality and leadership. We're the publishers of the Everything DISC assessment, so we know that personality is really important. And we wanted to understand, how does personality relate to leadership? And there's definitely a relationship, but it's not such that you can predict. If you know someone's personality style, you can't predict whether they will be an effective or an ineffective leader. The correlation isn't that good. But it does influence how you lead. So that was important to us. We also looked at 360 data. Have you ever taken a 360 where people give you input? Your boss might rate you, your colleagues or your peers might rate you, the people who report to you might let you know how you're doing. So we have all this data because about 1 million people every year take one of our assessments. So we have a lot of data to look at. And we had all this data with followers. 81,000 comments that followers said about their leaders. Well, that's a lot of data, right? How do you analyze 81,000 comments? We hired a university student. I said, here, analyze this data for us. This is a good project for you. And he actually took those 81,000 comments and got them down to 24,000 unique comments. So from there, we were actually really looking at, what do people want in a leader? What do they want their leader to do? And the top 3 things I thought would be interesting to show you. So the top 3 things from a leader's standpoint, a follower would say, I wish my leader would be more active about finding new opportunities. Your followers want you to look at new opportunities. They want you to explore new things. They want you to be out there. They want you to be ahead of the game. They also said, I wish my leader would focus more on improving our methods. They look to you as a leader for improving productivity, for improving efficiencies, for making things run. And then lastly, the number 3 request was, I wish my leader would do more to rally people to achieve goals. People want you to inspire them. People want to follow a leader who's going exciting places and doing things that make a difference. So those were the top 3 requests from followers, and we thought that was important. We also look at training trends. And again, we have a million people over a year who take one of our assessments. So oftentimes, after you take an assessment from Wiley, we ask you if you'd like to participate in a research study. Maybe you experienced this when you took your assessment. So you finish your assessment and then you answer some questions. And we get over 90% of people who say, sure, I'll participate in your research study. So we gathered data about what topics do people want training on. The number 1 requested topic, probably not a surprise, is leadership. But what's interesting about this is we decided to look at who said this. And we have the ability to look at, are they new leaders? Are they young? Are they seasoned or more mature? And this request came from everyone, not just the emerging leaders, not just the young leaders, not just the people entering the workforce, but from seasoned leaders like presidents and vice presidents and directors, CEOs. They want more leadership training. They want to be better leaders, and they're looking for ways to do that. We also then look at subject matter experts, and we globally go to market through value-added resellers, consultants like Hanu and Sammy, and we are able to work with them to beta test and pilot things. How many of you have beta tested a program for us? Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, because without your support, we wouldn't be able to get the information that we need to create the products that are meeting the market need. So we go through a lot of people and we have them look at our products before we publish them. We have them take our training resources and practice them and use them in a classroom, and we get feedback. And every time we get feedback, we make improvements and we make it better and better and better. And with Work of Leaders, we did 5 rounds of what we called beta testing. So each time we took the feedback and made changes to the product, made changes to the assessment, we made changes to the facilitation resources, and each time it got better and better until we had people say, when can I get this? And that's a clear indicator to us that it's ready for market.